Welcome back. In the last video, we saw how we can use if and else and user input. But in this video, we're going to go a step further and look at what we can do with else if. So else if allows us to add additional situations or options which arise. Okay, so we had this if age above 18, then do this. So what could we do if we had more options? So we don't just want to check if somebody is above 18, but we also want to check if they're younger than 40, for example, right? Or younger than 60. So if somebody is above 18, do this, otherwise do that. Now the problem is, if I want somebody to be above 40, I have to change the logic here. So if I go ahead and say above 40, you can not go into the club, please go home. And then if somebody is age greater equal 18, then we can say go into the club. So here, println, you can enter. And then this statement we're going to put into an else statement. So I will tell you why I chose this logic in a second, because the thing is, like, we can also have additional conditions within one condition, and we're going to look at that in a second. But first I want to show you how you can do this else if here. So let me run this, and we will see enter your age as a whole number. So let's say 25, and it says you can enter. Let's rerun it. Let's enter 41, and it says you cannot go into the club, please go home. Well, that's because we are over 40. Now, if we didn't follow the structure that I had here, we would run into a problem. So let's say we did as we had before. Okay, so above. So you saw the difference, right? We have if, you have else if, and you have else. So we can have multiple else ifs. We will see that in a second. But if you have this situation where your if statement, which is the highest priority, doesn't allow for the else if to ever happen, then it will never happen. Okay, the else can still happen, but the else if can never happen. So I will show you what that means. All right. We had the situation earlier where the age was above 18, and then it says you can go into the club. So now if I were to add an additional condition in here, then else if condition, where I say age above equal 40, equal greater 40, I would say print line, you are too old, even though I don't think 40 is old, but for an 18-year-old, 40-year-olds are old, I would say. So now you see we have this underlined piece of code here. So if you run this, and even if we enter 50, it will not say you are too old. And I can show you why. All right, let's rerun the code. And let's enter 120. And we can still go into the club, even though we had the logic, or we thought, that only people younger than 40 can get into the club. Now the problem is that it always executes the code from top to bottom. So if this statement is true, this statement can never be true. At least that's the logic behind coding, right? So this line of code will never be executed. And the same goes for this else. It will never be executed. So you really need to make sure that the age here allows for an age here to still be executed, which is why I had this other order that I used. Now, how can I still make sure that age greater equal 40 will be relevant and will still be executed? Well, by, for example, limiting this if greater equal 18 with an and. So we saw this double and before when we looked at the Boolean conditions, right? So we can say age should also be less than 40. So now we have this double condition. So on one hand, we want to make sure that the age is above 18, but then also less than 40. So that's how we can do that. And let's run this again. And now enter 120, for example, and it says you are too old. So now it actually jumps into this else if statement, because now this condition wasn't met because I am not greater than 18 and at the same time younger than 40, when I'm 120, right? But I am 40 plus. So that means 120 is greater equal 40, which then means that this line will be executed. So this greater equal 40, by the way, really means that 40 is included. So greater equal means the number itself that comes after is included. Same goes for lower or less equal. There the number is also included. Okay, and the same goes here, like 18 is also included in this whole thing. Now at this point it is complaining that I should use a range check instead. So instead of writing age greater equal 18 and age less than 40, I could also use a range check which just says age in 18 to .39. So it says between 18 included all the way up to 39 included. If age is inside of those numbers, then this piece of code will be executed, and otherwise it will check if this condition is true, then it will execute this code, and otherwise it will execute this code. Okay, so that's basically what we can do with our if, else if, and else statements. Now you could add more else if statements, and I will give you a little exercise later on, but let's just give you a general idea how that works. So see you in the next video.